Welcome, warriors of silence and strength. Welcome to the place where shadows become light and secrets stop being burdens and start becoming weapons. If you're here, it's not by accident. If you're listening, it's because you're meant to hear this. Something inside you has been clawing for the truth. And now, the truth has arrived. And before we descend into the fire of what they fear most, take a breath, stand taller, and remember. If this message pierces you, if it rattles the cages of your soul, subscribe, like, and speak in the comments. We rise together, not by noise but by presence. Now listen close. They've always known there was something different about you. Something buried, something deep, something ancient. Not everyone sees it, but the ones who do, they feel it, they glance sideways, they whisper, they retreat. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you carry something they could never understand and never control. And now, the secret's finally revealed, and they're running scared. Not because you shouted, not because you showed your hand, but because you didn't have to. Because power unspoken is more terrifying than 1,000 declarations. Because silence with certainty bends the air in the room. You've walked quietly for too long. Now the ground beneath your feet remembers who you are, and so do they. They don't fear what you say, they fear what you know. They fear what you've survived. They fear that after everything, the silence, the setbacks, the betrayal, the locked doors, the isolation, you're still standing. No, not just standing. You're rising, quietly, strategically, relentlessly. They thought you needed validation. They thought you needed permission. They thought if they ignored you long enough, you'd disappear. But here you are. And now it's them who can't look away. You became what they swore you never would. You became what they fear becoming. See, power doesn't always look like what they show in the movies. It's not always loud. It's not always dressed in gold. Sometimes, power looks like endurance. It looks like stillness in chaos. It looks like someone who has tasted every depth of pain and still walks with grace. That's you. That's your secret. The one they never wanted exposed. Not because you owe them an explanation, but because your story shatters the illusion that only the loud win, the illusion that silence equals weakness, the illusion that to be alone is to be lesser. But you turned isolation into initiation. You turned wounds into weapons. You turned silence into strategy. You know why they're scared now? It's not because you changed. It's because you stopped apologizing. You stopped minimizing yourself to make them comfortable. You stopped asking for seats at tables that were never meant for you. You built your own table. And now they're running, not away from you, but from the mirror you've become. Because your presence alone reveals every lie they told themselves to feel important. You don't need to speak to prove your worth. You are the proof. You are the storm they never saw coming. But let me tell you something darker, something they'll never admit. Deep down, they knew this day would come. They always sensed you were more than you let on. That behind your quiet gaze was a fire no one could put out. They tried to keep you small because your very existence made them question theirs. They feared your awakening because it meant the end of their illusion. The moment you realized you didn't need their approval, the moment you remembered who you are, the balance shifted. Power left their hands and returned to yours, and now they scramble, desperate to silence what they can no longer contain. This is what they're terrified of. The fact that nothing they did broke you, that you emerged sharper, colder, focused. That every attempt to derail you only taught you how to rebuild with stronger bones. They don't fear the noise you'll make. They fear the precision of your next move. Because now, you don't waste energy proving anything. You move with intent, with calculation, with destiny in your veins. And it shows in how you walk, in how you speak, in how you no longer wait for invitations. You walk in like you belong, because you do. Understand this, your presence is prophecy, a reminder of everything they could have been, but never chose to be. You didn't get here by chance. You got here because something inside refused to give up. And that's the secret, not talent, not popularity, not luck, but an unbreakable will, the kind forged in silence, in solitude, in storms. You bled for this, you burned for this, you broke for this, and now you rise for this. They're watching now, clinging to the version of you they wish still existed, the one they could control, the one who doubted, the one who waited. But that version died in the fire, and in its place rose something more terrifying than they ever imagined. A soul unshaken by rejection, a spirit untouched by opinions, a mind sharpened by adversity, and they can't stand it, because they have no power here anymore. The leash snapped, the mask fell, the illusion is gone. You are not like them, never were. You were always meant to be more. But more doesn't mean louder. It doesn't mean brighter. It means truer. You don't need attention. You are the gravity in the room. You don't need permission. You've already built your path. And now the world will witness what happens when the underestimated become unstoppable. They'll whisper, they'll plot, they'll attempt to twist your story, but it won't matter. Because you no longer live in their world. You own your reality now. The secret they fear is not just what you've endured, but what you're becoming. You're not even at full power yet. This is just the beginning. Every day you get clearer, sharper, stronger, and they can feel it. They feel it in your silence. They feel it in your eyes. They feel it in the way you no longer chase anything, because everything you need, you already carry. They spent so long trying to define you, and now they're terrified because you're finally defining yourself. Let them talk, let them panic, let them run. You don't need to chase what's beneath you. Let them mock what they can't mirror. Let them judge what they can't reach. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to be liked by everyone. You were born to shift tides, to disturb systems, to shatter expectations. And now, every step you take is proof that nothing they did worked, that the real you survived, that the strongest parts of you were forged when no one was clapping. So rise without guilt, rise without shame. You owe no one an explanation. The ones who matter already know, and the rest? Let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them worry. You don't carry revenge. You carry clarity. And that's more dangerous than any weapon. Because now, every move you make is intentional. Every word you speak echoes. Every boundary you set is sacred. You don't break for anyone anymore. And that's what terrifies them the most. Because here's the truth. They're scared of the secret you keep. The one that says you didn't need them to survive. That you became unstoppable despite them. That everything they tried to bury came back stronger, darker, wiser. That the war inside you didn't destroy you. It trained you. You didn't just survive the storm. You became it. And now that secret, it's not a weakness. It's your weapon. It's your crown. Let the world feel your presence. Let them adjust to the power they tried to ignore. Let them watch in disbelief as you rise with elegance and fire. You owe it to no one to soften your shine. Let them tremble. Let them scatter. let them regret. The ones who saw you as invisible will now see you as unshakable. The ones who called you too much will now call you untouchable. The ones who doubted you will now choke on silence, because you've said enough. You are not here to be understood. You are here to unfold. You are not here to be palatable. You are here to provoke growth. You are not here to fit in. You are here to lead. And leadership doesn't come from applause. It comes from alignment. It comes from being so in tune with who you are that nothing outside you can bend what's inside you. You know what they're really scared of? That you no longer need their stage because you built your own kingdom. So carry your secret with pride. Let it burn beneath your skin. Let it radiate in your silence. You don't owe them your story. You are the story. You don't owe them your truth. You live it. Let the world adjust to the intensity you carry. And when they ask, what changed? Don't explain. Just smile. Because the ones who know, know. And the ones who don't, never mattered. They're running scared now. Because for the first time they realize they never had power over you. You were simply waiting for the right moment. And now that it's here, they'll do everything to make sense of what they were never meant to understand. You've become something they can't define. And when people can't define you, they fear you. But you don't fear anything anymore because your secret is out and it's magnificent. And now that your secret is out, there's no putting it back. There's no sealing it away. You've crossed the threshold. What was hidden is now radiant. What was buried has become the foundation. And the more they try to deny it, the louder your presence becomes, not in volume, but in weight. You walk into rooms and the air shifts, not because you announce yourself, but because every step you take reminds the world you are not to be ignored again. They wanted you small, not because you were, but because they were. Your strength reminded them of everything they refused to build in themselves. You didn't shrink for your survival. You were conditioned to believe that silence was safety. But safety was never the goal. Truth was. Freedom was. And now, you're walking fully into it. You've stripped away the masks. You've burned the roles. You're no longer performing. And that's what terrifies them most. The real you needs no performance. The real you speaks in presence alone. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about proving anyone wrong. This is about remembering that you were never broken. You were forged. Every time they overlooked you, you saw deeper. Every time they rejected you, you grew roots. Every time they dismissed you, you learned the art of patience. While they rushed for applause, you built legacy in silence. And now, while they fade, you rise. Unshaken, undeniable, unforgettable. You've become the very thing they said couldn't exist. The quiet power, the soft storm, the presence that doesn't beg, doesn't explain, doesn't ask for permission. You walk now with a weight they cannot name, and it rattles them, because every time they see you, they're forced to remember what they did, or more painfully, what they didn't do. They had their chance. They chose doubt. And now, you owe them nothing. This secret you've carried, it wasn't just a truth. It was a mirror, a reflection of what the world feared to acknowledge, that quiet ones rise, that shadows birth warriors, that those who go unnoticed often come back unstoppable. You were never the weak one. You were simply the one who waited until the world was ready to witness what cannot be undone. And now that you've arrived, don't dim, don't shrink to fit back into their comfort. Don't soften to make your light easier to digest. They must adjust, not you. You are the result of survival with soul intact. You are the proof that pain can polish purpose, that silence can sharpen vision, that solitude can prepare leaders. You are everything they hoped you'd never become, and more. Watch them now, scrambling for words, rewriting history, trying to claim pieces of your story as if they had a hand in it. Let them talk. Let them try. You and I both know you walked that path alone, and what you built in solitude is yours by right. They don't get to claim your light when they vanished during your darkness. And here's the twist. You never needed their fear. You never wanted them to run. But now that they are, don't chase. Don't explain. Don't reach back. Let them live with the weight of watching you thrive. That is not vengeance. That is truth unfolding. That is legacy forming. You were meant to walk this alone because not everyone is meant to go where you're going. And now the elevation begins. But hear me, this isn't the final form. This is just the unveiling. The truth was revealed, yes, but the power, the full force of what you carry, it's still unfolding. This is the part where you step beyond limits, beyond fear, beyond narratives handed to you. You are not just here to survive anymore. You're here to dominate your space. Silently, humbly, relentlessly. They'll say you changed, and you did, but not in the way they think. You didn't become someone else. You returned to who you were before the world told you who to be. The masks fell, the noise died, and underneath it all was a force they couldn't imagine. Now, you are that force, shaped by silence, strengthened by solitude, and refined by rejection. And the more you walk in your truth, the more they'll feel the shift. Because energy doesn't lie, and yours speaks now, loudly, not in words, but in waves, and everyone you encounter will feel it. The old you tried to be liked. The new you doesn't need to be. You don't seek favor. You command respect. You don't ask to be seen. You show up. There is no going back. And why would you want to? Back there, you were waiting for a signal. Now, you are the signal. Back there, you were hoping to be chosen. Now, you choose yourself. Back there, you needed their approval. Now, you understand. Their approval was never the measure. You've become self-sustaining, self-aware, and soon, self-made. And I know the journey here wasn't gentle. It cost you peace. It cost you comfort. At times, it cost you people you thought would stay forever. But look what it gave you instead. Clarity, alignment, a depth they can't access, a soul they can't manipulate, a voice they can't silence. The pain didn't break you. It refined you. It made you surgical. It made you selective. It made you sovereign. And now, you walk into every room with the quiet knowing you don't need to prove anything. You just need to be, fully, authentically, powerfully. Because when you are truly yourself, unapologetically, consistently, that's when everything starts moving. The right people appear, the right doors open, and the old noise fades permanently. And here's the final truth. The secret was never about them. It was about you. You were the secret. Your resilience, your endurance, your depth, your silence that watched everything and forgot nothing. You are the blueprint now, the reminder, the example, that no matter how invisible you were made to feel, you were always powerful. And now, that power is fully yours. So go without fear, without hesitation, without apology. Let the world tremble. Let the systems shake. Let the whispers spread. You don't need to control the story. You are the story. And the best part? You're just getting started. They had their moment. This one is yours. And the ones that follow, they'll speak of you. Not because you demanded it, but because you became undeniable. And when they ask how you did it, say nothing. Just walk forward and let your presence answer everything. They thought the final chapter had already been written. They thought they'd seen the best of you, the last of you, the strongest you could be. But they forgot something crucial. The most dangerous force in this world isn't someone who wins early. It's someone who suffers long and keeps showing up. That's what you are. A quiet force that outlasts storms. A presence too persistent to be erased. You don't rise fast. You rise forever. And now, you've stepped into that rare space. The space where very few reach. Not because they couldn't, but because they wouldn't endure. The world worships speed. It celebrates loudness. But you didn't chase noise. You chased substance. You chased truth. You didn't take shortcuts. You took scars. And that is the secret they'll never understand. That every part of you was earned. Every step, every insight, every layer of resilience. And now that it's yours, no one can take it. Not time, not betrayal, not silence. Nothing. This is the moment in the story where the room goes quiet, where the world starts to pay attention. Because the one they buried just walked in with a crown of fire. Not because anyone gave it to you, but because you forged it from everything they used to try and break you. Every no became a spark, every delay became a lesson, and every wound became a weapon, not to harm, but to cut through illusions. You don't fight like they do. You don't seek revenge. You don't need to. Because the truth always returns, and you carry it now, on your shoulders, in your blood, in your breath. It walks before you and speaks through your silence. It blinds those who denied it, and it heals those who waited for someone just like you to rise. There are people watching you now, not the ones who doubted you, but the ones who see you, the quiet ones, the silent warriors, the ones holding their own secrets, their own strength, their own scars. And when they see you move, they remember who they are. You are not just walking for yourself anymore. You're walking for everyone who was told to wait, to shrink, to stay small. You are proof that waiting is not weakness, it's preparation. And now, you don't carry a secret. You carry a standard. You are the standard, the shift, the blueprint for rising when no one claps, for building when no one believes, for standing when no one stands with you. You're not here to join the world. You're here to transform it. Not by noise, but by becoming so undeniably aligned with who you are, the world is forced to realign with you. The game has changed, and they know it. Every time they try to speak over you, your presence silences them. Every time they try to outshine you, your shadow reminds them what real depth looks like. They can pretend they don't see it, but they feel it. In the way you no longer hesitate, in the way you no longer seek, in the way you no longer need anything except what's already inside you. And now, the path is wide open, not because it became easy, but because you became ready. You're not climbing for survival anymore. You're climbing for legacy, for impact, for alignment. The old version of you was about escape. This one is about arrival, about taking your rightful place. Not with arrogance, but with the silent, grounded power of someone who knows. knows what they've seen, knows what they've survived, knows what they carry, knows what they're here to do. This is the turning point where the fear fades, not because the world changes, but because you do. Fear no longer fits. Doubt no longer belongs. You've outgrown the stories they told you, and you've written a new one, a darker one, a stronger one they'll study, but never replicate, because it was written in a language only the forged understand. The secret is this: you were never meant to be understood by the masses. You were meant to inspire the few who rise. And now, they'll come. Not the ones who want to use you, but the ones who need to see you. The ones whose flames are almost out. The ones whose silence is starting to feel like surrender. When they see you, they'll remember. That silence is not surrender, it's strategy. That pain is not the end, it's the furnace. That being alone is not the void, it's the place where real strength is born. You're not here to prove your worth anymore. You're here to move like it's fact. You don't explain fire, you let it burn. You don't explain growth, you show up taller. You don't explain resilience, you keep standing. That's what breaks their understanding. That's what flips the script. And now, if they want to know what changed, tell them this: I remembered who I am. I remembered what I carry. I remember that silence is not weakness, that being underestimated is not the end, that the secret I kept wasn't mine to hide, it was mine to become. And I have. And now, they run, they whisper, they scatter, because for the first time, they see you. Not the version they wanted, not the one they shaped, not the one they tried to control. They see the real you, the unbreakable you, the undeniable you, the unapologetic you, and that is what they fear the most.